put these shackles for underneath here.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Karen, can you do a roll call, please?
Chris.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Richard.
Here.
Tor.
Here.
Sally.
Here.
Nancy. Yes. Heather.
Here.
Do we have any amendments to today's agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any amendments to the minutes from the December 10th or January 14th meetings? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any public comments that are not related to items on today's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. We have nothing on the consent calendar for today, so we'll move on to public hearings. We have a recommendation to the Borough Assembly on an application from Rob Schwartz to purchase approximately 35,000 square feet of borough property located North 14th Street.
Oh, here we are.
Yep.
Here we are again.
Please state your name.
Rob Schwartz.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service to our community.
Well, we continued this at the last meeting.
The one I missed?
You, so
My humble apology.
that's all right.
It was working. Yeah, when I put in the request, or whatever you want to call it, I had money. Then I bought another boat, so I don't have any money now. So anyway, I did read the statement or paper on Cedar Row. Is that what it's called? Cedar Street? Row,
That's what
maybe?
Right of way.
The right of way, and made sense of it. I read it about 4 times. I kind of know what we're up against. We talked about at the last meeting, that street going through, and that if it ever was developed, the road behind it, if it was ever surveyed and developed, there would be access to both sets of lots. But I'm still interested in the property, but it's not like I'm salivating to get it. I've been curious about that lot for a long time, and it's adjacent to the land. So I don't know how to proceed now, but I don't really have an interest in paying for the surveying of it. And has there been a price put on that lot?
Liz, there.
There hasn't been. It has to be done by the assessor.
Okay.
Right. So I guess that's where we are.
Yeah.
So the assessor does a price, and then, it's got to go for a public auction too, right? It's not necessarily
Not
that
necessarily.
Rob could get it, right?
Just depends.
Yeah. So,
The process usually is a recommendation to the assembly, and the assembly would give preliminary approval about whether to sell it or not. And then it goes back to the applicant, and they would be responsible for surveying. And at that time, once we knew, how many square feet, then we would get an assessed value on it. The assembly has the option of how to dispose of it, whether it's direct sale or by auction. Usually it's by public outcry auction. And then they would schedule that at a date and send out notices to surrounding property owners that there's going to be this auction. And then at that time, the sale is full price, so the borough doesn't finance the purchase. It would have to be full price of the lot. And then following that, you get a conveyance of the property. In a nutshell.
okay, so I guess my question is, Rob wouldn't have to pay a survey cost up front. That happened after this whole process started, right? Or
In
wrong?
this case, it's a little bit difficult because it would be hard to convey without having the survey done.
Right.
And then it would be hard to sell when you can't really tell people what they're buying.
Correct.
If you don't actually have a legal lot there.
Right.
So I'm not 100% sure on that, since it's different than other sales that we've done. we usually have a legal lot that we're selling. In this case, we have
We don't.
some
Well, I mean,
undefined piece of property.
I guess my question is, Rob would be expected to pay the survey costs up front, and then they go to a public cry auction and somebody could outbid it.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a really good deal,
So,
personally.
so
I just
if he
question
was
there.
not the one to be able to purchase, someone else purchased it, then a portion of the proceeds from the sale would be used to repay him for.
Okay.
For the survey.
Okay.
But there's still a chance that the assembly may say it can be a direct sale.
There's always a chance, but usually it has to be a really good reason why they would.
And then there's also still the issue of vacating the right-of-way.
Well, it could be sold
Yeah.
as is.
Yeah,
So that's a different issue in my mind as to how it's.
so, yeah, but you wouldn't be, you would like the right-of-way vacated if you were going to buy that
Oh,
property.
yeah. Well, when I approached you last spring, I thought, well, this could be a win-win. I could buy the property, and I had a chunk of cash set aside to do that, and I could still go to the bank, get a loan, and buy it. And then it'd be on the tax rolls, and the city could get taxes from it.
Yeah,
I don't mind paying my taxes. You know, they go they're for a good purpose.
yeah,
So, anyway, that's where we started.
yeah.
And I knew we might get caught in a little quagmire, and it seems like that's.
Yeah.
I was going to say exactly what you said. Thanks for saying it. 'Cause I didn't really have an interest in paying for the surveying and then getting in a bidding war with somebody over the land.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm patient. I don't have any use for the land right now. I was kind of looking down the road, you know. So, that's where we are.
Dave, you have any?
Since we've gone through the process, should we just approve it and then you can decide? I mean, I don't know what happens, I guess. If we,
What are you interested in, Rob? Like, what do you want to? Are you interested in this coming up for sale, or?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've been interested for a while. I mean, I've looked at the lot for 15 years, probably longer since I was a little kid. And I think last spring I said, you know, I've got roots in the town, and now I have branches, grandkids and kids, and I don't know what the future holds, but that lot would be a nice lot for somebody.
Yeah. So would you be interested in collecting the signatures for the removal of the right-of-way? I think Liz wrote us a letter saying that it needs to be like half of the property owners, half
Sure.
the frontage.
Yeah, I could do that. Go right down the row.
Yeah.
See if I can talk my sister into signing it. And Cushing might be an issue, but, you know. Yeah, I could do that.
so, Mr. Chair, I just think that we should go on with the process so that Rob doesn't have to come back here and go through the process at some point in the future. Is that possible, Liz? Can we say, give our blessing to it, and then if he puts it on hold for a while, does he have to go back through the whole process again, through planning and zoning, or
Let me.
is there a timeline on this if we pull the bullet on this?
I don't remember there being a timeline, but let me look and see, because
Okay.
I didn't really look for it.
And so would you also be interested in paying for the survey now if you end up buying the property, or if someone else buys it, you get reimbursed? Or is that?
That depends if we catch any tanner crab or not.
Yeah.
I went from having, I'm poor again.
Isn't it like 10% down and then a year to pay? Something like that
Yeah.
for the property?
PAF, pay after fishing.
Yeah.
The other question is,
Well, the other question would be how much would the survey cost?
yeah. Well, the other question is, do you want to continue, I mean, we could potentially continue this until after the issue with the right-of-way is resolved.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you could continue for 3 years and then I'd be ready to buy it too, you know? I mean,
So-
we just started a new business and we're trying to, you know,
Yeah.
find our feet, so
Yeah.
a lot of expenses.
Maybe continuing is the best thing for right now.
So I don't know.
You know, you can put it on the back burner too, as far as I'm concerned, you know, and just know I'm interested, and if
Well, I just
let's figure out a way.
put it on the back burner. We can't.
Okay.
So the problem that I was trying to have you avoid having to do is go through this whole process again at some
Right.
point in the future. That's all I was thinking.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, just so we could just say, okay, yeah, let's do it, and then you could take as long as necessary.
So Liz,
Your part of it has to be done within 100 days of referral, but the rest of it doesn't have timelines.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Mr. Schwartz doesn't necessarily have a timeline.
Oh, right on.
Perfect.
so would it,
Yeah.
so would it be in the interest of the borough though if these lots haven't been recorded? This whole like, I don't know, the lots next to the one Rob's interested as well. Would it be interested of the borough to get it all surveyed and Rob sharing the cost for that portion?
So if you survey more than 4 lots, then you need to put in the improvements before you're able to sell any of those lots. To make a final plat.
Yeah, I think it said that would be,
You read the memo.
yeah, I did, several times. Yeah, 4 times.
You're going to run utilities down Koenig's Lane in the future towards this lot, and you only size them for 1 lot, then future development in that area is going to have to go all the way back to Koenig's Lane and bring large enough utilities to service more lots. So you're kind of penalizing future development by allowing someone to run utility size just for 1 lot.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happened all over town many times.
We could leave it a green zone for eternity. So somebody doesn't build my backyard. That'd be good too.
Is there another right-of-way on the uphill side of all these lots that we're talking about, though, where utilities could be ran also?
No.
No, all right.
So Cedar Street right away is the only existing one. And then Koenig's Lane, 14th Street that comes up. Utilities end at 14th and Koenig's.
All right.
So Boundary Street is totally off the maps.
Boundary Street is there, it's just not,
Because it was platted all the way through to Haugen. And that's with the intent when the houses were, when the lots were auctioned in 1962, was that Boundary Street would be built by the city to open up house lots for the community, and people that owned the 450 deep lots like me would then sell small house lots off the backside, and they would straddle Boundary Street. And it never happened, and I can't seem to find it on maps.
I looked and I don't know that
But it was there in the 70s. It was,
still existed. You can always take a look at it, but
yeah, because that was...
they found Cedar Street.
That was the whole plan of the auction that the state put on Sandy Beach Road, was it would then open up all those housing lots for the community. And like, I have 450 feet by 200. I only live in the front 150 part. It's just like dead space back there. It's just cranberries and muskeg. But it'd be cool if, it had happened and people could build small cul-de-sacs or sell family lots back there. It's gorgeous back there.
Yeah, I know, I think.
Yeah.
So in effect, this is just green space at this point then, right? Because it hasn't been recorded?
It's zoned single-family residential, so it's a huge tract that's just not been subdivided. Well, it was, but then never followed through.
So if this is an official lot, how come the assessor hasn't put a price on it?
It's not an official lot.
But it has lines on the map.
We drew those lines for,
Yeah, that was the other, when I looked at it at first, it was adjacent to the property.
Yeah.
It showed that it was adjacent to my backyard. And then we didn't know about the Cedar Street at that time. The other thing is, more than once I thought, just leave it alone. I like that. People walk those 2 trails all the time, and just leave it alone. Because it's just muskeg back there, and they walk down one trail, and they walk up 14th Street, and they hit the other trail and go by the ball field, and, it is a little chunk of land that, they can go get, a view of the muskeg, I don't know, but they walk it a lot.
View of Petersburg Mountain is stunning from the muskeg.
Yeah, well, no,
It's like,
there's sun back there, and
Yeah.
it's nice. So, it wouldn't break my heart if it was left alone either. I'm not going to cry myself to sleep one way or another, so. In other words.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think we should just go through the process and approve it. And then,
recommendation, yeah.
Yeah, put a recommendation, and then it's just there, and then that's that until,
And then it'll kind of be up to you how you want to proceed. If you want to get rid of the right-of-way, then you can get the application in. If you want to do a survey and move forward with buying the property,
And yeah, there's no time limit on that, once you guys do your thing?
I think that's what Liz said.
Yeah, sounds like
For a
it.
good canner season.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. I appreciate your time.
no problem.
You brought it.
and the other thing is you might want to expand the size of that, so that you select all the part that's adjacent to your and your family's property back there too, so you might want a bigger lot than what the lines on the map indicate too. I don't think there's any problem in doing that either, is there, Liz? This intent was to,
Yeah, there's no actual lines.
right, so you could
You
take a
decide
bigger
where
chunk
you
of the
want to draw the
pie.
line.
Well, I have the lot next door as well. If we needed to access a lot back there, we could go up through where the driveway is, through that lot. It's kind of a weird lot. It's 50 by 110 or something. It's kind of a strange lot, but
Yeah, but what we're saying is back there's no line, so you can basically
Right.
say you want to buy whatever
size.
size you want.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah, so you can
Other
make it a
than,
bigger
the, other
lot.
than the right-of-way that's there that has to be vacated.
Okay. Well, I'll probably see you in October. Better make some money. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cedar Street right
So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation, let's see, for the borough to, or, let's see, how am I supposed to say this? For the assembly to sell the property, or start the process.
Preliminary approval?
Preliminary approval.
Do I have a
Is that it?
second?
Second.
Karen?
Yeah, I'll amend it to include the findings of facts.
Second.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Thor,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to consideration of an application from Jody and Michelin Coyle for a variance from the 10 yards side yard setback to allow construction of a 120 square foot woodshed 5 foot from the property line.
Actually, Jode.
Jode, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
From the property line at 103 Jenny Lane.
Looks like it's just, language has changed somewhat.
Yes, I think the language has changed. So, find that one in here. Page 23.
Somebody's buzzing.
It's just requiring me, I'll call her back later.
Structure going to fit underneath their existing deck. Looks like.
I don't really have a deck.
Because it's a porch. I know the new thing, I mean, this is already here. This is just, is it going to go under the deck? Because there's a lot of stuff here. Or maybe up to it. You have the expert coming. Sorry. There's a couple of different ways you just can't get it to connect.
It's plugged in over there, right? Into the wall?
Yep. I have a dial tone. I can put them on my cell and put them up against a microphone.
Well, let's see if we'll try it here one more time. It's ready. Yeah. We didn't have any power outages lately, did we? Not that I can think of. Don't we get an AT&T issues, but,
Had an AT&T outage.
yeah.
What was the deal with that?
It was all southeast, I think.
Was it?
It would?
It was all southeast, didn't have AT&T.
Yeah.
I just got back from the rally for the ferries.
Oh,
Was it well attended?
Not as well as I wish it was, but yes, there were people there.
Is it still ongoing?
When I left, there was.
Are they collecting signatures?
Yes, they are collecting signatures. Have a list of who's there. Sorry, it's almost
An
ready.
awkward place to get to.
What, the library?
Yeah, when they were out on the, I drove by them when they were out on the corner on Haugen and Second.
That's, yep.
Yeah. A lot of foot traffic.
Sorry, guys. It's sleeping.
oh yeah.
okay.
Administration is talking about doing all sorts of goofy stuff that's beyond goofy. It doesn't even, I mean, I was up in Juneau all last week.
Joe's looking for a signal.
Maybe. I don't know why it's taking so dang long.
Dave, did you get a speaker
Must be somebody.
for the thing?
Yes. The,
Sorry.
Steve Reichenstiel from
Insta.
He's a very good speaker too.
Carol couldn't do it? Rutherford? No.
But no,
Hi, Joe, it's Karen with Planning and Zoning. Good, how are you? Hey, we had some issues with our little telephone thing, so I have you on my cell and I'm going to put you on speaker next to the microphone. So, are you okay with that? Okay, hold on, here we go. Okay, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys hear him?
Yes.
Okay. Go. Go ahead. Go.
Okay.
So I guess I make a motion to approve the application for the variance of 10-yard setback requirement. And
I'll second.
Discussion, questions?
I see it's been
I can't
clarified.
hear any of that. Am I supposed to be able to hear something?
Oh, you probably can't. Sorry. They just made a motion to approve and now they're going to discuss.
Okay. What are the questions we have on this?
You should put it up there.
put him up here, so maybe he could hear us.
I think a lot of them were cleared up with the language, the new language.
With the new language?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know personally, not as a neighbor, but as a located further down the street, I'd rather see a plastic shed roof open than a big blue tarp over a pile of wood.
Or
Protecting it.
skeleton?
Yeah.
Can you hear Sally?
No, I can't hear anything.
Speak up,
I
Sally.
heard that.
I think you're going to have to repeat it.
Yeah, I'm sitting right here. You should be able to hear me.
What I said was,
Okay.
can you hear me now, Jode?
He doesn't get any feedback from this. He
No,
can only hear
I'm
your
just
voice.
talking loud to, like Dave.
Person?
Here, I'm going to pass you down to Sally.
Yeah.
And you got to hold it
Tatum.
next to your microphone too, so it picks it up.
Hi, Jode, this is Sally. Can you hear me?
I said, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. What I said was that the new language that has clarified things for me personally, that it's not going to be an actual structure, it's just a kind of a roof. And I would much rather see a clear plastic roof with some side poles rather than a big blue tarp or old tin or something laying on your wood pile.
Right, yes, and that's all it is. No, there's going to be no sides to it. It's just clear, what that stuff's called,
on this.
you know, big greenhouses out of,
Yeah.
and some nice treated 4x4 posts sitting on piling, and it's all going to be open.
Yeah, I'm going to pass the phone down the way. You answered my questions.
Okay.
I think it's clarified what my questions were with it.
I had one question, young man.
Go ahead and pass down a tour.
Yeah, my name's Tora. I just had one question for you. It looks like it's going to be 14 feet, like, wide, judging by the drawing I think we had. Is that about right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and I was just wondering, basically, if you built it 10 feet wide, we wouldn't. You could build it, and I'm just wondering why you need the extra 4 feet. Is it?
Because the porch that I built, I needed that extra space so I could get by my porch to where I want to stack my wood with a wheelbarrow and stuff when I back my pickup in there. Because if I built it 10 foot wide, then I'd have to go up over my porch, and I don't have stairs built on the one side.
Okay.
So I wanted the extra room so I could get a wheelbarrow by.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions? Comments? You ready to call the question on it?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I looked at my wood shed, and I got, I think, 6 cords of wood in there, and it's 112 square feet. And basically the dimensions of this are 14 by 24, which would be 336 square feet, which is 3 times mine. So if you're just thinking a wood shed, this seems...
But he's also leaving room for a path to get through there, to get to his stairs and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's covering that porch.
And it's his sole source of heat.
And like I said, there's no walls. It's not a shed by any means. It's just a lean-to roof.
It certainly adds some safety as well for from the pictures, it's pretty clear that snow's dropping off that roof right onto that deck and stuff, which is, yeah, so you need to ensure that your plastic roof is strong enough to handle that.
Oh yeah, no, I got all the materials sitting there. I'm going to build it for it. So.
I'm looking at the findings of fact to see what we have to make any changes on that.
For number one, it seems like the house is offset a bit in the lot. I don't know if that's really exceptional, but it definitely makes it very difficult to put a cover on that deck roof without, or over that deck without encroaching into the setbacks.
And the lot's only 80 feet wide.
Yeah, that's not super wide.
No.
Well, there's a fair amount of space on the other side of the house.
Away from their entry, though.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
an
Then
inconvenient location.
you gotta, schlep your wood
Right.
a long way.
Further.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
refresh me, did we have any of the neighbors have any objections?
I was looking through here, I did not see any, but Liz, did we?
There was no objection to the structure as proposed.
Okay.
I think there was just questions on the size and location and the profile, height. And then whether it was open or closed. That was primarily it, yeah. Yeah, the distance between snow shed, yeah, for between the structure and the house.
6 feet is still plenty for to accommodate that.
It would be 5, let's say.
Yeah,
The roof overhang.
yeah.
Yeah, there'd be some overhang there, so.
So that's still sufficient.
What do you think?
I think we just need to address the findings of fact if we wish to approve this. So, has somebody got suggestions of how to word that? That'd be page 24.
We just addressed a little bit of it. The reason why he needs that extra width is because there's no stairs off the deck going the other direction.
And he needs to cover that porch as well as the wood.
Partially for safety from the falling snow.
I will have a handrail around it.
I think number 3 was addressed with the dimensions and
Open structure?
some of that, but, and the fact he says he's going to put a handrail around the deck. The question is, I think number 1 is something we have to address.
Yeah, after we strike the third word from the number 3, applicant did provide dimensions.
Yeah.
Guys, I cannot hear anything you're saying.
Yeah, you're.
Oh, yeah. So strike the third word from from number 3. Applicant did provide dimensions. So strike the word not.
Not those dimensions.
10 by 24.
I'm trying to see which page that's on.
I was looking at 31.
24-foot roof, and then on the picture they've got there, they're saying 6 feet remaining at the property line, which would be 14 foot.
The distance from the house to the property line is 20, and then he's saying he's going to leave 6 from the post to the property line.
I think ultimately, what matters is how far it's from the property line, so I think if we're gonna say 5 feet for all, that's probably the way I'm gonna write it, because I can't read this as-built to say how far the house is from the property line.
Yeah.
So I think we're safer just to say no closer or anything, including these 5 feet.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then you have to come back and just measure out from the property line.
Yeah.
Because it's, to me, I don't see where it's 20, I can't read that as built, and that's all they wrote.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, it'd just be, the as-built is blurry, and it'd be nice before, when construction starts, or if this is approved, that we get a clean measurement of this copy, because it was done, and it was done by a registered surveyor, so it's a document that we can, adhere to.
Yeah.
As long as I can get, this is blurry, and ask for like a clean copy of it, so we could get the proper numbers. All I need.
But that shouldn't hold us up.
Yeah.
I want to repeat that for Jody.
Yeah, we need a clean copy of the as-built survey to the planning department so that they know the actual distance from the house to the property line. Because what we will approve is based on how far back from the property line, which will then determine how big that shed is.
You might want to double check you caught all that.
Did you get all that?
Were you talking to me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch any of it.
No, we need you to provide a cleaner copy of the as-built survey to the planning department because they can't read it, it's too blurry. So they don't know how far the existing house is from the property line.
That's
Okay.
after.
Where do I go get that at? I swear we sent one of those in.
You sent one in, but the copy is so blurry they can't read the dimension from the house to the property line.
So if you could just bring it in.
So if you just brought it in, that they can make a photocopy of it
After our meeting.
after we approve it.
So I'll get that to you and then it gets approved.
Well, we'll approve it, but for them to determine the size of the shed before it's built, they need a copy of that.
Okay, so I'll get you a clearer copy of the as-built and take it in.
Correct.
It looks like the copy, Tom, it looks like the copy that he sent us was
And
fax
who do
copy.
I take it to?
To Liz.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, we're back to number 1.
Yeah. We need to just address the language in the findings of fact.
They have a date on this, is 96.
Okay. Yeah, I will get that to Liz as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dave, any suggestions?
I mean, it's hard to do a finding of fact. It's hard to change that first one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Don't we?
I think, as the applicant said, it was basically like he said, safety to get his truck around it is what he said. So I think that's, if we can form that into something.
Less labor intensive, too.
Yeah, I think the safety issue is more concerned about number 3 on the findings of fact on page 24.
Yeah.
But
Well, not that the new code is in effect yet, but once the new code is in effect, doesn't that setback reduce to 5 feet anyway?
no,
not.
stays to 10.
Okay.
At least on those lots, there's,
Medium density.
aren't the medium density ones reduced, Liz? Correct. Okay. That's what I thought. I think think the only solution on one, if would be something to do with the position of the house on the lot, and where the entries are into the house. But I'm not quite sure how to phrase that. Anybody got a suggestion?
So on page 27, it looks like the white door is an entrance and the stairs go back towards the house. I don't know, what's the fire code to be able to access that door? Like if you need to walk between the posts and that decking, what is that? Like you need 6 feet? I don't know what it is, but...
I don't think it needs to be that wide.
I don't know. It's my own thought.
It's hard to tell.
I mean, that deck looks like it's 6 feet wide, and if you get from between the post and his deck, that looks like it'd be about the distance you need to get through there, if you got a stretcher or whatever.
Normal code for passageways is about 36 inches.
Yeah, I think it's 36 is the minimum.
Is minimum, but bigger is better.
Yeah. Well, I'm out of ideas.
Steve?
I'm thinking, I mean, it doesn't, there's really, I mean, you know, to be honest, you could build the porch over his, he could build a deck over his porch.
The roof over his porch.
Yeah, and just have it in at the deck line, and then not to have as big of a deck through the rest of it. So there's, you know, really no physical reason why, you know, you'd still have access to it. I guess he's already got pilings driven.
Although if you put the roof line back to the deck, you're going to have snow shed out here and you're walking underneath that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. Which is not ideal.
No.
So that is kind of the physical circumstance. The snow needs to be shedding outside of a pathway.
You don't want people walking out underneath an area that's shedding snow.
What is the deck for the door? About 6 feet? Looks like.
Yeah, 6 feet, maybe a little bit more.
The width of the length?
The width coming out from the house. If that distance out to those posts, if you're looking at that other photo,
Yeah, maybe ask.
if you're looking at
We
the
can ask him.
photo 26, on page 26,
Yeah, maybe ask.
how far out does that deck by the door come from the house?
The deck's, I think it's 6 by 6.
6 by 6?
Yeah.
So that looks like it leaves about a 5-foot wide path between the deck and the cover.
Yeah,
And that's a pretty reasonable
yeah.
size. It's just the arrangement of all the porches and access points on this. That's the number one. And all that stuff together kind of adds up to the exceptional circumstances.
Yeah.
On page 31, it shows it's 20 feet.
It says 20 feet, but
This drawing says 24.
they're looking at the as-built on the...
Yeah, I was looking at page
Yeah.
31.
And it's like... Yeah, we know the as-bilt's a true survey, that's the thing. So, anyway.
So we could say the combination of the deck and the entrance points on the building add up to create an exceptional physical circumstance that
Okay, so you want to make a motion to amend?
Yeah, I'd like to amend number 1 on the findings of fact to the combination of the entry and the deck and how the roof sheds snow onto that area creates the exceptional physical circumstance to warrant approving this.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And then I think the only other amendment that we probably should make on there is that the piles, they say are 6 feet from the property line, but we probably want to say that they cannot build any closer than 5 feet to the property line, any part of that structure.
Including the overhang.
Including the overhang cannot be any closer than 5 feet from the property line.
So we're making one amendment. We're including basically the language you just said, the 5 feet from the overhang, and then striking the not from 3, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one amendment.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second on that. This is on the amendment. Karen?
Sally?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tor?
Yep.
Nancy? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
And then on the original motion to approve, as amended?
Heather?
Yes.
Did you include providing a copy of the as-built is that intended to be a condition, or is that just a recommendation?
Said he'd do it.
Does it need to be a condition?
That way he's required to do it.
Yeah.
Asking the question.
Yeah. Do we need to do another amendment if we want to put that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to do it, I'm just asking.
Also move.
Second.
Okay. On the second amendment?
Heather?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Nancy? Yes. Chris?
Yes.
Tor?
Yep.
Richard?
Yes.
And on the original motion?
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Nancy? Yes. Tor?
Yep.
And Dave? Did I call you yet?
Should I change my mind? Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to a recommendation.
You might still be on the phone.
Yeah. I'll hand the phone back.
Thank you, Joe. You're good.
Moving on to a recommendation of an application from Don Konings and
Thanks.
Matthew Hawk for a special use permit to allow placement of a school bus shelter at on Sandy Beach Road, a right-of-way at 802 Sandy Beach Road. Testimony.
I'll make a motion that we approve the special use permit from Matthew for the small bus stop from Sandy Beach Road right away, including finding of facts.
I'll second that for purpose of discussion.
Ellen.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. I bring before you a petition to place a bus shelter for the school children in the right-of-way. I think it's hopefully it's self-explanatory what the purpose of that is for. If you have any questions, I'm prepared to answer those.
Okay.
I think we need more of these around town.
I agree. And I think it's really neat that you've gone to the school about the school shop classes possibly having plans to build them for people that want them.
If I may, then respond to what Sally is saying. I watched the children, my neighbor children, stand in the rain for several years, and it dawned on me that I could do something personally about that. So I decided to make the shelter and try to make it as simple as I could, and using pallets, and so I made sure it was portable. Upon further thought about that, I took it to the school superintendent, and she was very excited about it. She said I could think of multiple places throughout the city that children, as many as up to 20, wait for the school bus. I also talked to the school bus drivers. They were very much in favor of it. And I went one step further than that. I went to the shop teacher and prepared a plan for him so that he could, as students, could put it into a CAD program and modify it if they so wish, so it could be this size or larger, depending upon the need, or maybe build several of them. But he liked the shop teacher really liked the idea of it be a school project through just not only the CAD program and putting it in, but learning the skills of carpentry work. So there's a lot of support within the community. Even the people from the PIA who have a bus that pick up people in wheelchairs spotted it and said, well, we could use something like that in other places within the community. The only comment that I have with this idea is having to submit variances and an application for each and every one of them with a fee associated with it. I paid the fee and willingly did so to bring it before you. I think in the future, if the Rotary Club and other organizations have interest, or the school has interest, etc., that there should be a waiver of that fee. But having said that, I also wrote a letter, and perhaps you have the cover letter that I wrote with it, saying that this was addressed to Liz as well as that was addressed to the Community Development Director, that you might review that letter and consider that variance of the application fee. But it would require a survey. I think people need to do exactly what you are called to do, is to know site-specific where they're at. And so someone would have to do that, whether it's a surveyor or the property owner. But for the community to actually actively be involved in this, it could be a win-win all the way around. So I just ask you to think about that application fee as a requirement. This is the first of its kind, according to Liz, that someone has asked for use of a public right-of-way to put a structure in. I do agree that they should be portable, movable at any time, that whether it's the police or the fire department or any of the entities, public works, anybody has any concern, that all should be reviewed by them. This was reviewed by those people prior to bringing this application to the commission. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Maybe we could create a map, a pre-approved map around town where these might be acceptable.
That's exactly what I asked for. I would like to know how many in the community. Ask the bus drivers to designate those areas so that if it called for someone to be site-specific, whether it's Rick Bond or some survey, to go out and get the data and information, say this is where we'd like to put them. If you group of people on a sponsor one, I think the school will be willing to build them. Some of the contractors themselves might be willing to donate some of the materials to build them. I did have an idea about utilizing pallets. I made mine out of the 2x4s, 2x6s, and pallets in the course of the construction. Discussing it with Dave Owens, he said, that's a good idea, but I would really, for the purpose of the children, young youth making them, the boys and girls making them, I'd rather have them use lumber. Pallets for the base, for portability, and structural materials, so they get the idea and the concept and the fasteners and all that go with it. So I just leave that open and let those that want to decide how to do it.
I'd also like to see some kind of consistency in painting them
Yeah, it'd be nice to see
Yeah,
something like road.
exactly.
They could, have several different designs, but not be tacky, be neat and clean looking. And
Like the salmon trash cans.
I use metal roofing, black metal roofing, and it can be painted another color, but
the interior, if you leave it raw wood as a Rosemuller, I like wood covered with paint because it lasts longer.
yeah.
I was wondering, Chair.
Yes.
Liz, I was just wondering, so if this group, if they're a group to get together and they start building these wood sheds and they put them on private property, they don't need to come before us and get a variance at all for this right away? So if they designate spots for other bus stops, I guess?
The only issue would be the setback requirements.
Okay.
And so then that pushes them a little bit further away from
The road.
the, which is,
Yeah.
defeats the purpose of having them close to the road.
Gotcha.
In this case, I mean, it's kind of an extreme situation where you have this huge right-of-way on it. Crazy. And so it goes pretty far up. The driveway. So they practically have their house and their property. But, you don't have to everywhere.
And that was the other thing I wanted to touch on is the right-of-way on this property is 100 feet because they thought maybe that highway would go through there.
Correct.
And so I was wondering, talking the neighborhood of getting like a petition together to reduce that right-of-way because it's be private property.
I have that in my hand. I've been dealing with Liz on it. I just have other projects that I'm working right now. I think that would help with the variances that you're faced with from time to time. With that 100-foot right-of-way, it could probably be narrowed down to 60 feet maybe or 50 feet, but get involved with the public works, power and light and utilities and all that's complex. I'm aware that what it will take is over 50% signatures. I have the petition and the paperwork ready to do that, but I'm not prepared within this next 6 months to a year to do that. But I will do that in the future. I think there's a need for it. If I may just add to that, when I talked to the superintendent, Erica Klimpfenter, she said, we have 20 children that come off of Surf Street. And I said, oh. And so we picked the kids up at the bottom of the hill right in front of the cold storage building. And so that's public property right there. And so what I would say is you'd be off the sidewalk. The kids could come down the hill. Maybe you'd take 1 or 2 shelters, maybe even possibly 3. I don't see the structures, in my mind, wanting to be large enough to hold 10 children. I'm thinking if you made them small and people could still, like the one I've designed there, that could be modified in any number of ways. But I put it so that that's just something that I came up with. But if someone else has some other ideas about what a shelter should look like, they can come up with their own. But and there is one other comment that was made to me, and that is about the wind. Since they're portable, that in a high wind they might become a problem. And I said, well, that's quite simple to modify by putting some pins, just some steel pins in the ground and fastening a couple of construction staking pins, cement pins with nails just on the side. They're still movable, easy to move and relocate, especially if any concern would want to move them for any reason, or children are no longer using that area, you want to move them someplace else. So I did ask the school superintendent and the bus drivers to provide a map of a place with all these locations. They're kind of waiting to see what your view on this is. If you approve it, I think you'll see a desire to build more. She took it immediately to the Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club wants to sponsor one. So there's a desire out there.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
who would take care of these? That's my only question. Like once they're here and they're built, then would be responsible.
Who maintains them? I would say the people that use them, the school. That's a question that the school could pick up on, or the club, like a Rotary Club, say, we sponsor this building. I know that Matt and I will be taking care of this. I'm not done with this one. I want to put a gutter on it. The water drips off the side and on the edge. And like Sally says, well, maybe I could get her if we put some plywood on the inside and do a little rose mulling. I notice the children have a difficulty turning the light off in the morning. I put lights in there so that they can see and the bus driver can see where they're at. And that's the reason I wanted it closer to the road so that they could see the bus coming and the bus driver know the kids are there. So just kind of fine tuning it.
So the people that would sponsor them or would sponsor the building.
I think that would be a good suggestion.
We would need to put that in the agreement that somebody responsible agrees to maintain them, or if they
remove them.
no longer want
If they're no longer. I've had a number of neighbors that say, if you don't want it there, I'll take it down the road. I got kids here and there all up and down the street. And but if we could kind of consolidate them in places where maybe the kids have to walk a block or two, and it makes the bus driving a lot quicker and easier and faster, and waves traffic smoother and stuff like that.
No, I think it's a good idea. I think you've done a lot of work. I just want to, once you build something, that's not the end of it,
Right.
Always the case, it's maintenance.
How many times have they rebuilt?
It goes with life, Dave.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, we're on the original mud sills still. Yellow cedar.
Someone else said that tourists, people walking in the summertime, when they're walking, I see people put benches out on their side, along their house and saying, rest here. So visitors that are walking the street will probably also, if they're tired and want to have a lunch, they can stop there. I mean, it's just something that people are talking about.
So it'd be interesting to hear discussion on just if we did a 1-year approval for this, and then just in 1 year see how everything's working and double check it. In case we overlook something or something changes.
Yes.
So we're discussing a shelter at 802 Sandy Beach Road, and that one only. We're not making an approval for some nebulous futures scattered up and down the road in the future. We'll take that under consideration in a year or so.
I thought we
He's
were
talking to the
discussing
school
no
right now,
fee.
and they're trying to find places where they want to put them.
no
And then
fee.
once they figure out that, they'll probably come back to us if they
They'll-
need.
Okay, we can approve that. We're just
We
approving.
could make a
Okay.
recommendation to the Borough Assembly on that.
I'd also like to make this observation. Perhaps a good way to keep children visible is not to send them out to catch the bus in their camouflage clothing.
Amen.
Or no jackets at all.
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I don't think we can suggest waiving the fee. I think that has to come from the assembly.
I agree. That's where I'll take it next.
I think we should approve this one and then see what the school comes up with and then go on that in the future.
Appreciate that.
I mean, that'd be my recommendation at the time.
Well, Liz, just a clarification on this. We are making a recommendation to the Borough Assembly on this? Okay. So we could make a recommendation that they consider waiving the fee in the future.
Correct.
I would like that included.
I would too.
So. Okay.
You just be specific on right-of-ways then, or on any bus stop application? Like if they want to put it right at the lot line of someone's private property, is that fee going to be waived as well?
That, we could make that recommendation. I guess it's up to the board here to decide what we want to recommend.
Yeah, and that's what I was just getting more specifics, I guess.
And again, I think probably we're safe with making the waiver of fee recommendation for the structure at 802 and deal with fee waivers for future structures in the future.
I think 802 fee's already been paid.
Okay?
in This one.
But I don't think we should give blanket approval for waiving the fees for some nebulous number of...
We're making a recommendation to the Borough Assembly at this point, so, it's up to them to finalize whatever. I do think we should make a recommendation that the structures are secured somehow, and that either person or group is responsible for maintenance or removal of those structures. so that they don't become a problem in the future. Those are the two things I can, or really see needs to be put into it in the recommendation.
I think, Karen was just pointing out, I think on page 35, number 2, one of the conditions is that it is maintained. And cost of removal, so required.
Yeah, number 2.
Just takes a forklift. Clyde Curry, back on.
And so I guess, Liz, what would, who's going to be, I guess, saying that it's maintained, and if it's not, who's the one going to tell them that they need to move it?
We don't really have anyone that's made it
Yeah, no, it's kind of non-enforceable. So,
because they're in the area pushing snow and stuff, so they would probably have most interaction with it.
okay. So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I took the liberty of putting the shelter on the property at its present location. It was across on the 801 property, or 801 properties where I constructed it, and what the children were doing were walking across the road, and then having to walk back across the road.
Yeah.
And so I just went and put it there so the people could see exactly where it was sitting, and just used a forklift, picked it up, and moved it. So that's quite easy to move. Matter of a few minutes.
Any further discussion? Questions?
I just have a question about the recommendation for the future fees and for the filing fee. Are we going to address that now, or are we going to amend, I guess, a recommendation?
I think the best way to handle that is actually we get a recommended map or something and just pre-approve a map. These are the sites where these would be approved, and then with no fee. If they're placed in these locations on these maps and they comply with they're going to be maintained and that sort of thing, that's probably the best way to handle it.
Good deal.
And I think also, I don't see anything in the specific conditions about making sure that they're properly secured. And I think that's needs to make sure we don't have them blowing away.
Exactly. This is very heavy. I mean, it's
I know, but
about 100-mile wind could tip it over.
Right.
So would that be under number 2? Adding the construction spikes?
That seemed like the best place to amend it then?
That's probably the best place to put it in.
And Mr. Koenigs can come approach one of us when he's got his map, and then one of us can ask Liz to put it on the agenda for the meeting. So
I'll pursue this with the school superintendent and the bus drivers. I asked them for that, to do that, but they're waiting to see what reaction you have about placing any of these kind of structures on public right-of-ways. I think almost all of them would be in a public right-of-way.
I guess, Karen, I'll amend the motion, specifically under C2, and I just want to change it to permittee accepts responsibility for anchoring and maintenance of the structure, including cost removal if so required.
I'll second that.
Ready for a vote?
Yep.
Just, could you tell me what we're voting on? Just, is it just Tor's amendment at this point? Or?
Yeah, the anchoring amendment.
So you're not voting on the recommendation with that?
I think we got to vote on the amendment and then...
Vote the amendment and then vote.
Right. So that,
So Tor, you made a motion to amend,
Second by Sally.
and Sally seconded. So that's
Yeah.
what we're voting on.
just number 2.
Yeah.
To add the anchoring.
Yeah.
Anchoring.
All right. So, Richard,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Tor,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, also make a recommendation, or as a motion, under the recommendation that upon conclusion of possible locations provided by the public schools, once the locations have been vetted by Public Works, that the $170 fee should be waived.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
that will need to be a separate motion.
Separate motion? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. So the question, the original motion to, or recommend.
What that original motion is, so that
Motion to recommend to the Assembly as amended, with conditions as amended,
Including the finding of facts.
including the findings of fact.
I don't think we have to do findings of fact on this fee.
Well, it's the
We amended them.
conditions is what
Yeah,
is really
okay,
addressed.
specific conditions.
Special recommendations, yeah, right. So, the recommendation, or the conditions as amended,
So this is the whole shebang?
yeah,
Okay. I was gonna say. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, we have Heather,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Tor,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Chris.
All right.
Chris.
Chris.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay, I'll make another motion that, or another recommendation to the Assembly, that upon completion of a map of other potential sites, that once it's approved by Public Works, that the $170 fee be waived.
I'd kind of like to see that map before we make that recommendation.
I'll just do second for discussion. I'll second that motion.
Yeah, then I'd kind of like to see that map before we totally proceed with that recommendation.
And I think we should include the conditions. You know, it's if we get to the point of once that map comes through, I think we should make a recommendation, so it's not having to have every single one come before us. We say, okay, yeah, these locations are good, so.
And I'd like to also hear from public safety on these. It's kind of their thing.
Well, it's Public Works it was part of that motion that they look at the map and say, hey, that's going to work, or no, it's
Well, we
not.
have a public safety advisory
Okay.
committee as well.
You'd like to have it run by them as well? Okay.
Then my concern that is, we just say, okay, we're going to waive the fee, and then everybody just starts building quote-unquote bus shelters everywhere. And
Yeah.
I think the
mean,
map
not-
should come first.
we should have a map first of
Yeah.
ideal locations
And we waive the fee in those locations.
we just wait. So
Yeah.
each time somebody wants to put up a bus shelter, they don't have to pay $170 fee.
Yeah.
And I think, if I may, I think the way he's grouping this, like if you end up finding 10 locations in town that the school district thinks good and everyone approves, and then you pay $170 for that one application to approve all 10 of them, then I think it,
That might be a better way to go about it, yeah.
yeah, I agree that you shouldn't have to pay a fee if you individually go about each individual one, but if we group them all together and you pay $170 for a fee, then I think, we're taking out the majority of the fees on that.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of just leaving the one fee in and grouping them all together to approve or not.
Because I'm assuming that in the process, the borough would incur expense because every place that we wanted to locate one of these, the adjacent landowners would have to be notified. So there would be a considerable expense involved from the borough's perspective. notifying all the adjacent landowners and, seeing if somebody has heartburn with it or whatever, so.
Well, I'd also like to see what the Borough Assembly has to say on this first one, that we made a recommendation. So if they have any additional insight of things they would like to see on future ones, then we can include that into a recommendation in the future, so it's kind of makes it a little more streamlined, so that there's a process put together. So I think we wait on that at this point.
I think we made a motion to have to vote on it,
Yeah.
but I agree. I think I'll be voting no as well. It's better to wait.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I wait till we get feedback from the Borough Assembly on
I
that.
think the map's really important,
I think it is important to get a map, though.
so we can have a better picture
Yeah.
of what's going on.
So
I could just withdraw my motion.
you could just withdraw your motion.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
What?
I'll second the withdrawal then.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Please don't make me type it.
All right. Okay, do we have any?
I don't think we voted.
Mr. Chairman?
Did we?
Yeah.
We voted on the final motion?
Yep.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Yeah.
for clarification, tell me what you've done.
Approve the recommendation to the Borough Assembly on the one at 802.
Okay.
And we're waiting to see what you bring us in the way of a map and
Well, we may choose not to.
yeah.
And maybe just say, no, we're not going to do it in the long run, but I think the community, there's a lot of community support for it.
Yeah.
And if every one of these has to go to the Borough Assembly for review, then we'll fill the school chamber with the kids.
Yeah.
And the teachers and the parents and whatever you need to do to make sure it happens. I mean, I don't see this as an issue where it's a revenue generator. Now, you talk about notifying people. There was never a sign at all placed by that building notifying anyone in the public that that structure was there. And myself, I was never notified by the staff that this meeting was to be held. I only happened to see it in the paper, and that's the only reason I'm here. So notification sometimes happens and sometimes it doesn't, but I thought that since I made the $170 fee, that I would have seen that like every other application with a sign posted there for people to have comment on it. That wasn't done. So we're not following through your concerns about the money expenditure of my $170. It didn't mean anything. It went through the paperwork, and like I said, I wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't picked it up on the paper. So much for public notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional commissioner comments?
No, I just would like to follow up. It was public notice out 600 feet? Property owner?
Yes. The thing is, it goes to the property owner. And so he may not have gotten a letter because the letter goes to the property owner.
And
He's an adjacent, he's across the street.
He does not own the property.
Oh, my aunt does.
In fact, I think it's actually, I'm not sure what the mailing address is, but I'm not sure it's a Petersburg.
We can't access it from here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, the letters did go out to people within 100 feet. And
Yeah.
Mr. Keyes is not the property owner for that adjacent. A lot of us do.
Okay, any staff comments? Dave?
No, not staff, but I was going to ask, when are we going to, oh, you know what I'm going to ask, so I'll just wait for you to answer.
I was talking to Trudy about it yesterday, so getting closer. Because she made a bunch of minor changes all over the place. So that's how it sits.
Okay.
I don't have a specific date for you. Hopefully in March, though, is what I'm thinking. So soon.
All right. Our next scheduled meeting is March 10th at noon.
What are we looking?
I'll be here. Oh, yeah. Why? Go ahead.
She was answering the question.
Okay. Yeah.
I had an email from, if you guys remember back, was it a year or two ago when we discussed a proposed trail from Severson subdivision to the post office?
Yeah.
Remember, it went back? And so Susan Pariah has revisited that issue and gotten some additional information about how they could potentially lease that portion from the airport from the state. Remember, the whole issue was that the state wouldn't grant them an easement, and then therefore they couldn't get the BIA to fund the project. But now the alternative has come up where PIA could potentially lease that stretch from the state, and BIA says if they lease the property, then they would be able to use those funds for developing the trail. So she would like to bring that issue up again. And I guess my question is, do you want to redo, I think last time we did a couple of public hearings and discussed the route, and then between hearing 1 and hearing 2, the route kind of got moved from the right-of-ways away from some of the properties and into that airport property area. I want to revisit the whole shebang. I'm just curious, do you want no role in it whatsoever? I don't know.
Would any of those property owners have, properties changed hands so that there'd be a new, somebody that
Possibly, yeah, I don't know.
wouldn't have been aware?
Yeah, possibly.
Refresh me, Liz, but the main people that had heartburn with it were concerned about the traffic on the right-of-ways that were adjacent to their properties.
So they were concerned about additional traffic on those roads that currently really have very limited and light traffic. And then additional, just people moving through that neighborhood that, adds traffic.
I think parking was an issue.
Especially at the fire hall.
We discussed it anyway.
I think parking, they talked about creating a couple of parking spaces at the trail, at one point of the trailhead, like at Noseum Street.
And then Sandy had some heartburn about parking it up at the fire hall.
All right, people were parking at the fire hall, yeah, that was a concern. And hiking.
And I had that concern as well.
Yeah.
Because during an incident, that lot isn't big enough as it is.
Well, they talked about the possibility, I think, as I recall, of being able to maybe put some parking places up at that end of the trail too, as I
I didn't think so.
Okay.
I think it was just
Just at the other end?
potentially at, I remember it was potentially at the end of the scene.
I remember this.
Had talked about putting some spaces.
Well, it would be good to hear what they are talking about again, and then, do we have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to have public hearings right now, or is that something after we see what their proposal is?
Well, generally, if we do public hearing, then we do public notice, so,
Yeah.
there's no, I guess, a special use permit, again, to use the right-of-way for something.
Yeah.
It's kind of different because PIA isn't a private entity, it's a government entity, so it's a little bit different than.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of giving public notice.
Would this include like a sidewalk between the post office and the Hammer and Weekon turnoff or anything like that? Because people aren't just going to go to the PO.
I don't think it included sidewalks. I think it was just strictly connecting from Severson's through that Pearl Ave down to Noseum, and then along behind, at the end of Lumber Street, kind of, and coming past the public workshop, and then kind of have to make a bridge or something to cross that ravine, and then up behind the fire hall. And then folks could cross that street and continue on, and catch the trail.
'Cause that's a busy street, Haugen.
Yeah, well, relatively.
Yeah. I mean, for here it is.
For here.
We just walk out. We don't always look right or left.
And if you do, then you deserve to be hit.
I don't remember this at all, and I've been on the board for 5 years.
Was it more than 5 years? I can't remember.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I mean, I'm totally blank.
I remember reading about it in
Yeah.
the paper, though, and I remember some people being upset.
Yeah, there's concern about drug dealers and stuff hiding back there.
There was some concern about.
Oh, that's because one of
I know
our
Sam being such a skinny street.
Yeah, one of the big issues I remember was if they connected to Lumber Street was,
I mean, initially we gave them approval though, is what I remember. Like we gave them the nod that I don't know how exactly it was worded, but.
No, I don't think it ended up with a nod because I think they withdrew it because of that whole easement issue. And then instead, they brought forward a whole different plan, which was the one that goes from the airport subdivision back out and connects into the Hungry Point Trail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then since that was all on open space, there wasn't anybody living anywhere near those things. It was kind of a non-issue for any impacts, so.
I think with all the issues that we've talked about here, it might not be a bad idea to eventually go through a public process with this.
I agree.
So people are notified, they can have input, whether it's on the assembly level or starts out with us, I don't know.
Well, it always ends up here in a matter, so.
Yeah.
Maybe a special use permit process, just like we just did. You know?
Yeah. So it's, maybe if she could come and give a presentation and then let us know what they're thinking, and then the next meeting, then we can notice it.
That sounds good.
yeah.
We'd want to see the
It might be good to have a little discussion
educated
before we do the public notice, because there might be some suggestions we make that they want to make a change to their application.
Plus, it's always nice when you have a topic that's pretty controversial that the people sitting up here know what we're talking about,
Yeah,
instead of just having the public hearing that same night.
yeah.
And we're all kind of like, what?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'll see if she can come to the March meeting.
All right.
So, who's available for March?
Tentative yes.
I'll be here in March, or the 10th. I may not be here
That's all of us, isn't it?
in April.
Yeah.
Not me in April or May.
I'll be here in April and May. Not August.
Wow, I'll be here in April.
I'll be in Norway.
Okay, let's see.
I'll be here in April.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, that needs to be amended. That one's going to be
nice to have
amended
a
before we
full
sign
board.
it, so, because we changed it.